The Parks and Recreation Commission to order for Wednesday, February 24th, 2016. And if you'd all rise for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Blackman, would you call roll, please?
Chair Wiscombe.
Here.
Vice Chair Rincon-Ybarra is absent. Commissioner Longstreet.
Here.
Commissioner Clark. Here. Commissioner French. Here. Commissioner Heaton. Here. Commissioner Cavazos.
Here.
Great. Thank you very much. And we have Ms. McCaffrey here. Ms. Zachary is out sick. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
And any changes to the agenda? Do you want to switch around?
Yes,
4
I
and
think
5?
we were going to switch number 5 with number 4.
Okay, great. We'll do that then. Okay, thank you. Okay, written communications, I don't think we have any. So we are on to public comment, and any member of the public may address the commission for up to 2 minutes on any subject within the jurisdiction of the commission that is not on the agenda or not scheduled for a public discussion before the commission. So we'll start with Trish May. Welcome. If you just step up there and make sure the mic is so people can hear you. Yes, thank you so much.
Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you for your time and interest. I'm a Eucalyptus Hill resident, and I'm asking for you to consider improving access to Hale Park from Eucalyptus Hill Road. And as you may know, there were some wooden steps that were there, and they were taken away. And my husband and I, along with our 2 golden retrievers, Scout and Zippy, are very disappointed that these steps were removed. When the steps were there, we used this beautiful park every day, and now it's too dangerous to walk the extra 1.5 miles along major roads to get to the entrance on the other side, if you're familiar with it on the other side. It's too dangerous to walk the extra time. As you may know, some people's dogs were hit by a car that when they were walking on leash in the area, so we don't go on the main roads. And it's also too far to, it's too not desirable to drive over to the entrance. We can do that, but the parking is rather limited and dangerous coming around the corner, and it doesn't give us as much exercise. One of the major reasons we moved to Santa Barbara is for the wonderful parks, and we chose to buy a home in the Eucalyptus Hill area because of Hale Park. And as you know, it's an off-leash dog park. So by removing those steps, you've significantly diminished the usefulness of this park for us and for some of our neighbors. And I hope you'll consider adding back the steps or somehow otherwise improving access to that area. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Okay, next speaker is Sunny Ingalls, and Sunny Ingalls will be followed by Frank Randall.
Hi,
yes,
thank
welcome.
you. My name is Sunny Ingalls, and I live on Eucalyptus Hill Road. I, too, have been using Hale Park for many years, actually since '89, since my family bought the property, and always has there been a way to access the park. Wooden steps provided by some neighbor who kindly built them so that we and our animals could access them. And up until about 3 weeks ago, we no longer can access unless we walk or drive all the way around. So it's my hopes that we can find some sort of solution so that we may access this safely rather than jump over the wall and risk, ankles and knees and things like that. But Hale Park is a wonderful park, and one that is used by all the neighborhood, and a neighborhood park is something that you think you should be able to walk to and access it that way. And right now we're not able to do that without driving, and it is a little bit crazy on these windy roads, and just much easier to walk 3 minutes from our house. So I hope we can start a dialogue and find some sort of solution for access to the Hale Park. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Mr. Randall, yes, welcome, and it'll be followed by our final speaker, Dana Simpson.
Okay,
yes,
great.
Welcome.
This is also about Hale Park. We moved here in '94, and there's always been a way to access Hale Park from Eucalyptus Hill Road since '94, and it was a ladder. And then about in the third quarter of 2015, somebody spent a couple of days building some steps that were very sturdy and strong, so you were able to use it and get into the park rather well. But 3 weeks ago, the Parks Department took it out, and I met with Steve Biddle, whose crew is in charge of dealing with Hale Park and doing all those things. He recommended that we come and just inform you that this has occurred. The stone wall that is along Eucalyptus Hill, that is the border between Hale Park and Eucalyptus Hill, there's an 8-foot drop. Now, when I was a teenager and in my 20s, I could do what the current kids do when they park there. They vault over the stone wall and jump the 8 feet down to Hale Park. I tried that about 3 weeks ago. I'm 71. And I'm not going to do it again. I had visions that I could do what I saw the young people do, and there was a time. It's just not today. We just need some direction as to what to do. The neighborhood has given us an entrance the Parks Department didn't for a couple of decades. It was very satisfactory, but if the Parks Department feels that something else needs to be put there, I'm sure that there's some nice things that could be done. All three of us would be glad to meet with anybody that you choose to put us in touch with. By the way, we really like Steve Biddle. We think he does a great job clearing the brush and the limbs in the park. We just assume he not look too carefully at the entrances because it's hurt us a little bit on our side. All righty?
Thank you very much. And our final speaker is Dana Simpson. Yes, welcome.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I thought I was going to be speaking as one, actually. I, too, am a resident. I live on Cowles Road, which is in the Eucalyptus Hill Road neighborhood. And my partner and I and our dog enjoy Hale Park very much. The recent stairs have allowed our dog to access the park, and it is one of the few off-leash, dog-friendly parks in Santa Barbara. But now with the stairs being removed and the subsequent ladder, we too are no longer able to frequent this park. It's really a gem because I think originally I understand it was given to the city in the 50s, and it's an unimproved park in the sense that it has a wonderful feeling of kind of the backcountry. So it's rustic, it's lovely. There's trails, and I think one might say it's part of kind of the urban hike experience. But now that we can't walk through it in any we can't access it, so we can't walk through it. So I'm here today to also request that the Commission and the Parks Department review and consider a good solution so that we can access this park. It's frequented by runners, Westmont athletes. Frequently, my partner and I have been walking by, and they've been saying we can't get into our park, and so it really has upset the community. And it was a lot of work, I'm sure, to remove the stairs and the ladder, which, to my knowledge, the ladder at least has been there at least 15 to 20 years. So it's part of our neighborhood. And I too spoke to Steve, who was very willing to talk about some options, but he said that it was sort of unclear if it was it's a city park, but is it the county that's responsible for the wall and access, or the city? So I called the county and spoke to them, and then they told me to go back to the city. So I tried to do some homework and prepare myself as well, but I felt that coming before you today was the best use of my time. So again, I reiterate the words of my neighbors and fellow residents, and I hope you'll see what you can do to improve this for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming. It's great to have these kinds of things brought to our attention. We appreciate it. Okay, I'm closing public comment, and we are moving on to the Youth Council report. Is Camille Cosillo here? Welcome. You are the second vice president of the Youth Council, is that correct?
I am the second vice chair, yes.
Second Vice Chair, welcome. We appreciate your being here and look forward to your report.
Thank you for having me. First of all, we apologize that we haven't been here in quite a while. We've had a lot of new members. At the beginning of the year, we had 12 vacancies to fill, and at the moment, we still have 3 vacancies open, so it's been sort of a system of growing pains and learning how to work together. But from now on, we hope to have representatives every month for you. Along with this, we also have 2 junior high school representatives. So with this year, we chose to focus on something else besides as well as our regular programs. We decided to sort of elevate the teens' knowledge about the Santa Barbara Youth Council and what we do. We are trying to develop a new brochure, and we've been working with the city with our Facebook page. Along with this, we've had great leadership training and collaborated with teens from a different point of view program, and it was quite different for us. We combined leadership with all things about flying and airplanes, and it was a good opportunity to meet other teens with different skill sets and learning what they do for the community. So presently, we are working on our 3rd annual campaign against bullying, and this year we're collaborating with many other agencies such as Stand Tall, ADL, AHA, and Pacific Pride Foundation. The first event is sponsored by the Youth Council, and it will be for this Monday, February 29th at the Davis Center. So it is a parent-teen dialogue on cyberbullying, and we will have 2 simultaneous workshops going on, one for the teens and one for the parents, and of course, everyone is welcome. We chose cyberbullying because we believe it's an extremely pressing issue among the youth, and we hope that it will help the community understand what teens have been going through. We will also announce a winner of our junior high school essay contest at this event because their subject had to do with cyberbullying as well.
Camille, what time is that event, please?
That will be at 6 p.m. And for students, community service, of course, would be offered. Other events will include an event with after-school youth kicking off on March 3rd at La Cumbre Junior High School, and we also hope to see anyone who can come this coming Monday. Another event a little bit farther off in the future is our Teen Leadership Conference, and typically teen leaders pair with adult leaders and collaborate and just get to know each other and that type of thing. But this year we're also looking to do something different, and we hope to invite youth leaders, especially from other youth councils, from Lompoc, Santa Maria, and maybe Ventura, to come together and talk about leadership. And with this event, we're still in the planning stages. And then one other event that we have is that we've been invited again for the 2nd year trip to present at the annual Teen Jam, and this is presented by the Southern California Teen Coalition. And last year, we presented a workshop on the dangers of selfies, and we are still developing what we will present this year, but we will be attending on April 9th. And one last note for this report is that we are looking for more junior high school representatives, especially from Goleta Valley and Santa Barbara Junior High School. And soon, recruitment will begin for new for new youth council members as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the report. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Castillo? No? Thank you very much. We really appreciate your coming. And good luck with the event on the 29th. Yeah. Okay. We're moving on to Commissioner Committee assignment reports. We can just move down the row. Ms. French?
Unfortunately, I was unable to attend the Arts and Crafts Committee's meeting because I was out of town for business.
Okay. Mr. Heaton.
The Creeks had the shared meeting last week with the commission, and so I think we were all there. And just for those of you out in the audience, they discussed the multi-use path for MODOC and Las Positas, and gave a presentation and mapped out a multi-use path that would go along that roadway. And it's an exciting project that's got some funding already, so we're looking forward to seeing more about that.
Thank you. Ms. Longstreet?
The Neighborhood Advisory Council passed or approved 5 projects for neighborhood enhancement funds. They're very interesting, well-developed neighborhood projects. One is a mural at the Y on Haley Street, and that's with the YMCA. Y Strive is doing an interesting garden project at one of the churches over on the east side, where they're going to grow food, and they've also recontoured the property to prevent flooding, and it's a really interesting project and very community-based. The Habitat for Humanity, we funded one of their Brush for Kindness programs, so they go in and help a senior that can no longer maintain their home. We funded La Cumbre Junior High, a very small piece of the major project they're doing to improve La Cumbre Junior High access to their theater, which is a real neighborhood resource on the west side. And then on Milpas also, we again funded the project to cover the trash cans with youth art pieces. So that was very rewarding. That program is developed well, and we're very proud that it's moved forward this year the way it has. Also, I attended the CDBG meeting to represent the NAC on the Muni playground and pedestrian improvements on the east side, and the West Side access ramp applications. I did not get to attend the full meeting of the local coastal plan. I did turn in my comments.
What, the West Side access?
It's access ramps. It's this is the second year of the project on San Pasqual Street, upper between Mitchell Terrena and Mission in that area.
Okay. Are the ADA ramps? Are these? Oh, okay.
Yes, most of the ADA ramps are funded through CDBG.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Cavazos?
Right. Sorry, I attended the city council meeting, not last night because I'd probably still be tired, but the one where they presented the Cabrillo ball field improvements, just to kind of state what we had gone through to get to where we made the motion. I also attended the Park Foundation board meeting last week. Our annual event is coming up on April 17th, correct? At the Cabrillo Rec Center, the Urban Wine Trail event, which is always popular. It's a little shameless plug, but it's a great event. Tickets are ready now, so we hope to see all of you out. Well, not all of you kids, but all the adults out there. That would be great.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Clark?
On February 9th, I attended the local coastal program subcommittee meeting along with members of the Harbor Commission and Planning Commission to give input on the city's working draft land use plan. Just for your information, local coastal programs are basic planning tools used by local governments to guide development and protect resources in the coastal zone. Our city is due for an update on that plan. It hasn't been updated for a long time, and the California Coastal Commission is requiring us to do that. So our city planners have been working on it for over a year, and it's looking really good. On the 17th, I also attended the Parks and Recreation Community Foundation board meeting where we discussed our fundraiser that you mentioned, and tickets for that will be on sale online starting March 1st, I believe. And if you want to go to the City of Santa Barbara Parks and Rec Facebook page, there'll be a link there. That's probably going to be the easiest way to find it. We also received a presentation from Jill Zachary on the Cabrillo Pavilion renovation, which is going to be a great asset to our community once it's done. We're excited to continue spreading news of the project and look for additional funding. On the 17th, I also attended the joint meeting with the Creeks Advisory Committee to review the Las Positas Modoc Road Multi-Use Path Project and Las Positas Creek Restoration Project. The project includes a 2.6-mile-long pathway along Las Positas and Modoc that will completely separated from the road or the bike path. So it's for families and hikers and little kids on bikes and dog walkers. It's a multi-use paved trail pretty much. It's been funded in part by the Federal Active Transportation Program, and the city plans to apply for additional ATP funding for the construction phase of the project. On the 18th to the 21st, I attended the Central Coast Trail Stewardship Summit, along with Kathy Fry, our natural areas planner, and Steve Biddle, our park supervisor. Because our Parks Department is involved in the management of the front country trails at Douglas Family Preserve, Hale Park, Parma Park, and because of the link between sustainable trail construction, use and maintenance on watershed health and conservation, it was really exciting to see city staff in attendance. That summit was organized by Chris Orr, one of our locally based trail specialists with a long history of trail advocacy in our community, and our former front country trail maintenance coordinator. And it was hosted by the Los Padres National Forest, Santa Barbara Mountain Bike Trail Volunteers, and the Los Padres Forest Association in partnership with the International Mountain Bicycling Association. We learned a lot of good things that are going to help our Parks Department make our trails great for this community. That's about it.
Is that all you have?
I have a lot more to say about the Trail Summit, but I will share that in written communication.
Thank you very much. It sounds like a great conference. I'm anxious to hear more about it. Let's see, February 2nd, I attended the City Council meeting also about the Cabrillo Ball Fields being the sole vote the other way, and spoke my mind on that. Both Ms. Longstreet and I attended on the 3rd of February the meet and greet at the golf course for Corsco, And that was really great. Corsco is going to be the new manager of the golf course as of July 1st, and they're already out there working and getting to know people. So it was quite a informative session with them. On the 4th, I attended the Street Tree Advisory Committee meeting. I think it was the longest meeting on record. And Mr. Downey reported on violations, and we have 3 new cases, which means we have 3 open cases right now. So, and on the 9th, I also attended the local coastal program draft comments meeting, and with Ms. Clark, and we gave our comments, and Ms. Longstreet did too, on those aspects that as they related to parks and recreation along the coast. On the 10th, I attended the Golf Advisory Committee meeting. Unfortunately, the course lost 4 days of play. This was in January, so revenues were $16,000 lower than budgeted and $10,000 lower than January of 2015. Some good news, the rewards memberships, we have 7 more this January than we had in January 2015. So that program is moving along pretty smartly. The projected revenue for the end of 2016, which for our fiscal year, which ends June 30th, is projected to be about $89,000 lower than the budget for FY 2016 due to a variety of things. We had obviously some rain, we've had some cold weather, and just various things. So on the 17th, I attended the Park Foundation meeting with my 2 colleagues here. And yes, it's all about magic on the Urban Wine Trail. So, and if anyone's listening that would like to donate something for our silent auction, we would greatly appreciate that. We have a very large silent auction. So, and then again on the 17th, I also attended the Special Creeks and Parks and Recreation Commission dual meeting to talk about the new trail. The grant money that has been received by the Parks Department is for the design of that particular trail, and then after that, as Ms. Clark mentioned, we're hoping to apply for some grant money for the construction of the trail. But it's all very exciting, and it will be a very welcome addition for, I think, a lot of people that use Las Positas and Modoc. So that takes care of that. We are moving on to commission and staff communications. Do we have anything there?
We have none this evening.
Okay, thank you. Ceremonial items, no. Consent calendar. Okay. Summary of council actions. Those are in your packet. Agenda item number 1. Does anyone have any questions on any of those? Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to the minutes. We have minutes from the January 27th, 2016 regular meeting. And does anyone have any changes to those? And if not, I'd certainly would entertain a motion for approval.
I move approval.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we are moving on to Street Tree Advisory Committee items. This is agenda item number 3. And the first one is 3A1, which is 126 St. Francis Way. Mr. Downey, welcome.
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, 126 St. Francis Way has three liquid amber trees. The applicant is requesting to remove the middle of the 3 trees because it's causing damage to hardscapes surrounding the tree and some damage to the meter boxes. The committee commended the applicant for not just removing all 3 trees. They felt that if the applicant could provide some evidence that it really was tree roots causing the damage, that they would support the removal. So the recommendation is to conditionally approve the removal on the condition that they provide that evidence. Staff met with the applicant today, and they excavated and determined that roots were involved in the damage out there. So the recommendation is to approve the removal.
Thank you. Okay. We don't have any public comment on this item, so I'll open it up to the commission for discussion and a motion. Anyone have any questions or, okay. Would someone like to make a motion? Ms. French?
I move that we concur with the committee's recommendation to approve the removal of the jacaranda tree on 126 St. Francis Way.
Okay, it's actually a liquid amber.
Sorry, liquid amber.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, so motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. Moving on to item 3A2, the 1300 block of East Montecito Street and Salinas Street, and the 0 blocks of North and South Salinas Street. Okay. Mr. Downey.
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, the Public Works Transportation Department is moving forward with replacing a structurally deficient bridge in the 1300 block of East Montecito Street. As part of that project, they're also connecting sidewalks for pedestrian access through the area that didn't exist before. Their proposal is to remove 23 various trees, most of which are along Salinas, which I'll get to in a minute. The first one is very difficult to see, but it's the lighter green here. It's a jacaranda tree. It's really hard to see there. I'm sorry, it's in the middle of an oak tree, so I couldn't do any better in the photography. The second is this California pepper tree. There is a pittosporum also that will be in the way of those sidewalks, and a couple of firewheel trees. Then in the 0 blocks of North and South Salinas on the east side of the street, there are no existing sidewalks, and they're planning to place sidewalks along this stretch to improve people's access, students' access to get to school. The grading and the sidewalk installation requires removal of several trees. We've got this Eucalyptus polyanthemus, these 2 black acacias on the right side here. There are two small jacarandas in the right photo here. there are a large group of trees along one property here, which is the bulk of the tree removals, queen palms and several other trees, and the giant bird of paradise in the neighboring lot. This project is tied to Safe Routes to School, and we do have Public Works staff here if you have questions for them. The committee recommends that the trees be approved for removal on the condition that the applicant plant as many street trees as feasible in the area. We've determined that at minimum we can get at least 4 trees in the new parkway. So,
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Downey. I think one additional thing, there is a grant on this project. That was my understanding from my notes, an active transportation program grant for this site, right?
Chair Wiscombe, I'll let Public Works answer that question. Andrew Grubb is the engineer for the project.
Yes, welcome, Mr. Grubb. I think 3.14 million.
The total grant amount is 3.1 with about a $400,000 match, city funds. So.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's okay. Thank you very much. If we have more questions. So we have no public comment. I'll open it up to the commission for questions and discussion and or a motion.
Well, I would strongly support this program. Just there's been so much work done on safe routes to school and on the east side, and you know, it's a lot of trees to lose, and that is always sad. But I think this is one of those projects where you just put the needs of the community ahead of that, and I think it will be beautiful once it's planted at the end. I think the city will do a good job, and I strongly support sidewalks in communities.
Anyone else? Yes, Ms. French.
Yes, thank you very much for the report. I did go and march the area up and down, up and down. I first want to commend the fact that the bridge placement is going to save the sycamore tree in the creek. It's a fabulous old specimen. Thank you very much. That's really, I think, super important both to the nature of the community and to the health of the creek area, so thank you. I did notice that the firewheel trees, the 2 that are going to come out, seem to be newly planted. I don't know if those are city trees or owned by the property owner. Is one of my questions.
Chair Wiscombe, Commissioner French, those trees have been in for about 7 years. They haven't done very well in that location. They were planted by the city.
Oh, really? Okay. Thank you. That helps. And I, too, support the move towards safe routes to school, adding sidewalks in that area. It's quite busy. There's a lot of crossings with the merging of the streets, so I do think it is quite appropriate, as much as I hate to see trees come down. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else have any comments?
I'd make a motion if we don't have any more.
Yeah, I'd just like to say the same thing. I'm all in favor of this project. In fact, I think it's really exciting, and it's going to greatly benefit both Cleveland and Franklin elementary schools. And there was a big discussion at Street Tree Advisory Committee about the sycamore tree, and I think that Mr. Downey was fairly confident that it can be protected, and I think that's one of the major goals, is to make sure that's protected. So,
Chair Wiscombe, if
yes.
I could interject there. The committee did provide several comments about the trees for the bridge and how to preserve both the sycamore and the oak tree in that area, and those comments have been forwarded to Public Works.
Right. Okay.
Well, I would move that we concur with the Street Tree Advisory Committee and staff recommendation and make the findings used in good forest management to conditionally remove remove the trees in the 1300 block of East Montecito Street and the 0 block of North and South Salinas Street. Does it cover it?
I think under the condition that as many new street trees as feasible be planted.
That's why the conditional.
Oh, but I thought you took that out.
No, I took out where I was starting to go with an address.
Oh, okay.
We conditionally approve it.
Okay. So is there a second?
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to item 3A3, the 400 block of South Milpas. Mr. Downing?
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, the 400 block of South Milpas, again on the east side, does not have an existing sidewalk. This is across the street from Cabrillo Ballpark. The Public Works Transportation is, again, receiving grant funds from Safe Routes to School to install sidewalks in this area. Their application included the Melaleuca Quinquinerva in the left photo and the two yuccas in the right photo. When the committee got out on site, we determined that there were additional trees that would be impacted by the sidewalks that weren't identified in the application. So the committee's recommendation is to approve the 3 on the application. Since it wasn't part of their agenda, they couldn't comment on the other 4 trees. The other 4 trees are these Cordyline australis, 3 of them, and a giant bird of paradise. Staff recommends that the commission also approve these removals, again on the condition that they plant as many street trees as feasible. We're confident they can get 7, possibly more street trees in to replace these trees.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, we have no public comment here, so I'll open it up to the commission for comments or a motion. Yes, Ms. Clark.
I just have a quick question. I am in support of the project. I believe in Safe Routes to School, but my question is with the last street tree on our agenda and this one, you're using the language as many as feasible, but you have these numbers. Is there a reason you don't use those numbers? You think the minimum is 4 on the last tree and the minimum is 7 here? Is there a reason we're not using them if you're confident that?
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioner Clark, the committee, the placement of street trees has a lot of factors that we have to consider. We have to consider where underground utilities are. We have to consider closeness to driveways, visibility from intersections, distance from street lights, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The committee, without having that information at their meeting, opted to say as many as feasible. We still don't know exactly how many we'll be able to get in. There's some design constraints that might impact that. So it's frequently a construction time decision whether we'll be able to put some of the street trees in.
Anyone else? Yes, Ms. French.
Having gone down and sort of tromped around this area as well, these trees as they're currently placed really are part of people's yards, or people's yards have extended to the street. And I wondered what that communication process would be with the homeowners to notify them that a sidewalk was going to come through what they may have considered as their yard.
Chairman Commissioner French, I know that they have had contact with citizens, but I'll call Eric Goodall up to comment on that, their public process.
So the public process so far is I met with every resident along Milpas to explain the intent of our project and the extent of the project, and laid out with them where the city right-of-way ends and where the property line begins. And as you probably noticed, a lot of those yards are built all the way out to the streets, utilizing the city right-of-way. So when it comes to the removal of the trees and the removal of some of those yards, we've already contacted the residents and will continue to contact them when we get to final approved design to let them know what's been approved.
And I think this one also has part of an active transportation grant. Is that correct?
Yes, this one has a little over $1 million for the active transportation, and that's for design and construction.
Yeah. This, from what I understand, this was the biggest year we've ever had in that particular grant.
It was the first year of that grant.
That's
but
what it was.
It's also
yeah.
been the biggest so far.
Yeah, that's great. Well, congratulations to staff for that. I think that's really wonderful.
Thank you.
So, okay. Any other questions or comments, or would someone like to make a motion? Yes, Ms. French?
I just wanted to point out this goes nicely with some of the work that we hope to do there at the ball field and the improvements in that area. And I think it'll really make a difference in the accessibility and usability of that whole area.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone care to make a motion? Yes, Ms. French?
If I can do it right. I move that we concur with the committee's recommendation for the street tree removal that they identified, as well as the additional trees, four trees that were identified at 411 and 415 South actually all along that strip of Milpas Street. Is that sufficient? And the planting as many trees as feasible.
Okay. Anyone like to second that motion? I'll second that motion. Oh, you want to second it? Yeah. Okay. Ms. Clark's going to second it. Okay. So we have a motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. That carries unanimously. Thank you. Now we're moving on to item 3B1, 307 North Aliso Street. Mr. Downey.
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, at 307 North Aliso Street is a fairly large Norfolk Island pine in the front yard. The applicant wants to remove it because they're frightened about the size of the tree. Staff investigated the safety of the tree. There's no visible evidence that the tree is a safety issue. The committee concurred with that. Their recommendation is to deny the removal.
Okay. Thank you. No public comment, so it's back to the commission for questions. Mr. Cavazos, yes.
So did the applicant propose putting in another tree, a replacement tree, or they just wanted to remove this?
Chair Wiscombe, Commissioner Cavazos, they did not propose any replacement trees.
Anyone else? Ms. French?
The tree is very large and really is distinguished in that neighborhood. So I just want to acknowledge that. It seems to be super healthy, straight up, and glorious, truly. It's a beautiful specimen from my perspective, and as long as it really does appear to be safe, I'm not the expert on that, I would concur with the recommendation.
Okay. Yeah, I just to comment on that further, you know, we do have a condition in the municipal code, and I think a number of people on staff, and certainly I feel this way, that the character of the neighborhood would be materially affected by removal of that tree. So, assuming that it's in good health. So, okay. Anyone else? Anyone care to make a motion?
I'd move that we concur with the Street Tree Advisory Committee recommendation to deny removal at 307 North Aliso Street and make the findings for good urban forest management.
Okay. Second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Mr. Heaton seconded that. Any further discussion? Yes. Mr. Cavazos, you have something?
Yeah, so I'm a little torn on this one. So just so you know, we have a ginormous pine tree in front of our house. I'm pretty sure my wife will submit removals sometime soon. You know, so I kind of understand where the applicant might be, wanting to remove something like this. I get that it's a healthy tree and whatnot. I think I'd support it just because there was no recommendation to replace the tree. But I just wanted to kind of throw that out there that I understand the concern of, the applicant on this one.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item 3C1, all of Puesta del Sol. Mr. Downey.
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, Puesta del Sol, portions of it are still within the county. But it's a very rural area, very kind of laid-back area. The Museum of Natural History is proposing a project to improve their portion of that. The currently designated tree is the jacaranda, and they felt that the coastal live oak would be more in keeping with the rural area, and in keeping with the Natural History Museum being a native tree. So the committee reviewed that. They concur that the coast live oak would fit well for Puesto del Sol, and the recommendation is to change the designation to Quercus agrifolia coast live oak.
Okay, thank you. No
Chair
public.
Wiscombe, also
Yes.
the member of the project is here if you have questions about the project.
Okay, thank you. So we have no public comment, so it's to the commission. For any questions, first of all? Yes, Ms. French?
Do we know how many trees will be removed in this area for replanting, or these will be additional trees?
Chairperson Commissioner French, they are not proposing any removals at this time. There may be some on-site removals that I'm unaware of, though.
I think from what I understood, it's a condition of their conditional use permit to upgrade and install new sidewalks. So they want to be able to infill with this tree because it fits the character of the neighborhood. Yeah. No. Anyone else?
Well, I would just say I've watched some of the hearings regarding this project, and it's a very complicated project with a lot of stakeholders, I guess we'd say, in it. I think this is a perfectly appropriate tree from our point of view, and I would say it has been vetted by very many organizations prior to reaching us also. So I would support this change. It makes sense for the area.
Anyone else?
So I will move that suggestion that we support the change to the Coast Live Oak. Is that what we're looking at? For all of Puesto del Sol.
Within the city jurisdiction, yeah.
Well,
yeah,
that's all we get to say about it.
I know, yeah. May I ask one quick question? Yes. Oh, well, let's get a second to the motion first.
I second it.
Okay, Ms. French seconds it. Ms. Clark.
My question is, when there's a request for a street tree designation change, is the neighborhood, the other residents of the street informed, and do they give you feedback?
Chairperson Commissioner Clark, it's not typical that the neighborhood is informed simply because this is a decision today, and if conditions change, we can come back and make a designation change again. So it's not necessarily a final decision, but it allows the Natural History Museum to move forward with their plans to plant oak trees at this location.
I think the landscape architect at the meeting said that, at the Street Tree Advisory Committee meeting, that the neighbors were on board with a more rural feel. That was in my notes. Yeah,
And in our letter, it says the Mission Canyon Association Board and neighbors approved it. So.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Did you have a question, Mr.
So I
Cavazos?
thought we were going to discussion. So I just wanted to add in my interest of disclosure and transparency that on the other side of my property, I have a jacaranda, and I can certainly understand the removal. But what I do like about this one is there is a replacement tree. I think the tree fits in well with the neighborhood. So just want to throw that out there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you for sticking it out, Mr. Downey. I hope you feel better. So, okay, we're going to skip agenda item number 4 for the moment and move on to agenda item number 5, which is the Santa Barbara Arts Alliance Program Report.
Yes, Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, I'd like to introduce Ricardo Venegas, our Neighborhood and Outreach Services Coordinator from the Recreation Division.
Thank you for having us tonight. With me, we have also some members of the Santa Barbara Arts Alliance, and in front of me, to my right, we have Jasmine Linares and Roselia Rodriguez, and also some of our adult mentors, artists here tonight. The Santa Barbara Arts Alliance is an art-based mentoring program, And one of the main focuses is that it provides leadership and life skills development through a hands-on art instruction type of mentoring. In addition to that, we have youth do community service projects throughout the city. On an annual basis, we're serving up to 50 youth from the community. The program itself is based out of the Franklin Center. And one of the unique things about the Arts Alliance is that we allow the youth, or the program allows the youth, to develop some of the activities themselves. So they take an active participation, and they develop activities that are very relevant to them. So they do the planning, the coordination, and in some cases, the installation of the programs and or the activities through the program that we have. Here what you see is some of the past participants from 2005, 2006, and 2007. So not only do they do community service projects and murals, but they also do personal creative activities such as digital graphics, as well as canvas type of work. The program itself was established in 2005, and it was done thanks to a very generous contribution from the Santa Barbara County Arts Commission. A grant in the amount of $3,000 was given to the department, and it was given to us for the specific project that we called back then the Ortega Park Mural Restoration Project, in which a total of 6 murals were restored. And these are some of the original murals at Ortega Park that we were able to restore through the project. This particular one was done by Mr. Al Rascon. If I remember correctly, I believe it's 1979 that the original mural was done. And the Arts Alliance came in 2005 and was able to basically repair the walls, freshen up the paint, and that's the after picture, the after photo on the right. This is the other one that was restored. This one is inside the swimming pool at Ortega. It's an underwater aquatics type of theme. And when we came into the project, if you see on the left, it was very faded and with a touch of new paint and a few added designs onto it, we were able to liven it up a little bit more. The other one that was done was this one. This original mural was done by Mr. Manuel Unzueta. And this is a sports theme mural. It got to the point where it wasn't being repaired, it wasn't being taken care of. So we had a request from people in the community surrounding the area that they wanted a way for us to address some of the ongoing issues in the park. And hence we developed the mural restoration project, again, thanks to the Santa Barbara Arts Commission. And you see the after photo on the right. The program has developed into a very unique thing for a community that brings a lot of value. But one of the best things about it is that we are able to target and reach out to some of the most challenging youth in the community. And these are youth that are exposed to violence and poverty, youth that have a family history of violence and incarceration, youth that at some point have participated in graffiti vandalism, as well as youth on probation or youth on falling or at risk of being on probation, and also youth that have a poor academic performance or school attendance. One of the key to the success of the program is that we have some very passionate and understanding artist mentors, including one of the original co-founders, which is Mr. Carlos Cuellar, who's right there on the photo. This is, if I remember correctly, one of the ribbon cuttings at the Santa Barbara Airport mural project that we did for them. And also Mr. Manuel Unzueta, right there in the middle, who's been a longtime community activist for us here in the community and a longtime mentor. To his left is Mr. Miguel Rodriguez, who came to us about 8 years ago as a program participant. He had some challenges, but he was able to turn things around thanks to the mentoring, and he's here today with us, as well as Mr. Danny Mesa, who's not here today. But thanks to all the mentors that we have on board, we've been able to really change the lives of many youth in the community. And I think Miguel and Danny are some prime examples of what the program is doing for our youth in the community. And moving on to some of the murals that we have done over the last 11 years. These were done also at Ortega Park. The one on the left under the direction of Mr. Carlos Cuellar, called La Playa in 2008, and Niño del Maíz under the direction of Mr. Manuel Unzueta. One of the things that we do with this model is that we always match youth to the artist mentors. A lot of the mentors have a similar background to many of the youth that come through the program, and the way it works is that the youth get matched to the mentor that we feel will be able to, change some of the behaviors that we're after, that we want to change for the youth, and it's worked out really well. This particular mural was done for the Santa Barbara Airport. It's called Postcards of Travel, and it was done under the direction of Mr. Carlos Cuellar. This particular project was done over a 2 to 3 month period, and it involved approximately 17 youth from the community. These murals are over at Bonnet Park. The one on the left, Santa Barbara Beach and Diversity. And both of these were done under the direction of Mr. Manuel Unzueta. These particular murals, it's a wraparound mural around the restroom building. It involved 11 youth from the neighborhood. And this project was very successful that we continued to recruit and outreach to youth in the community. And these are some of the participants on the project itself that in 2012, we organized the second portion of it, which was the front wall or the back wall of the Boys Club, called Rise Above. This is the Seascape mural over at the Westside Community Center. This particular one is about 250 feet long, so it's a pretty long mural, and the way this one came about is that we were having an issue with graffiti vandalism at that location. So we went out there along with the youth and the program, and we interviewed a lot of the families and the children in the area, and we asked them basically, what do you want to see on the walls instead of graffiti? So a lot of the children basically came up and said, you know what, we want to see things from the ocean. And they developed some of the designs for the project. The project itself involved, I believe it was 17 youth, and it was done under the direction of Mr. Carlos Cuellar and Miguel Rodriguez, who's here with us tonight. These are some of the other panels. And going on to Bonnet Park, this one was a very challenging project. We had a really difficult time recruiting some of the youth in this area, but thanks again to the mentors that we have on board, in particular Mr. Carlos Cuellar, Manuel Unzueta, and now Miguel Rodriguez and Danny Mesa, we were able to recruit 23 youth for this particular project. And it was a very, very tremendous success that the community just really got involved, and we even had some of the parents participating on the project itself and providing lots of encouragement to the families. As I mentioned before, the approach that we use is that we have youth match up to one of the mentors, and this particular one, Mr. Unzueta took a group of 10, and he worked on the main portion, which is right there in the middle, from the left all the way to the right, where you have the stairs. Miguel took the portion on the bottom left-hand corner, which is a koi fish, Japanese type of design with a dragon. And then Danny Mesa took the far right, which is a Chicano surfer type of theme with an underwater theme as well. And this is the far right with some of the group participants that we have. It was just a huge success for the whole neighborhood, and I think it brightened up the whole area as a result of the mural and the overall participation by the youth. This is Miguel Rodriguez working on his design, and on the left we have some of the youth working on design along with Manuel Unzueta. This particular mural was also a very, very challenging one. We had a very young group of students, and two of the students that participated on that project are actually here with me. This is about 2-3 years ago. Roselia Rodriguez and Jasmine, and they're the two young ladies in the front that you see on the left photo. It took a lot of teamwork, and I want to invite Roselia and Jasmine to make a couple of comments on their participation. So, yeah,
Okay.
right there.
Hi, I'm Roselia Rodriguez, and this is Jasmine Linares. And we participated in this mural the summer of 2013, and we've been in the Arts Alliance ever since. Aside from developing and improving our art skills and techniques, the Arts Alliance definitely gives us an opportunity to work on our leadership and our teamwork skills, as well as strengthen our work ethic. For this mural and every other mural we've participated in, as a group, we plan and decide on a design and then take field trips to learn more about what it is we're painting to make it very personal and improve the quality in a sense. This particular mural has a design that we chose, and we titled it Rainbow Bridge because we wanted to somewhat pay tribute to the Chumash Native American tribe, since it plays such a significant role in Santa Barbara's cultural and historical background. I do believe that the educational part of the Santa Barbara Arts Alliance is just as important as its art and other contributions to our community. So we'd like to thank you for allowing us to have this experience.
This mural was done over at the West Side Community Center, and again, we keep going to the project and how we work with the youth, and on this particular one, we had Manuel Unzueta, Danny Mesa, and Miguel Rodriguez, and this one was done paying homage to Van, Mr. Van. I forget his last name. Apologize for that, but he was the former teacher, principal at the former Wilson School there, and very well loved by the community. And when we asked the neighborhood, a lot of people remembered him, and they said, "Hey, what about Van?" And the youth interviewed some of the community members, and they liked all the themes that were coming out, which was basically nature and knowledge and learning. So this was the design that they came up with, and very beautiful mural, as you can see. In addition to the murals and the personal projects that the youth are involved in, we also try to reconnect the youth to the community through a lot of community service projects, such as graffiti abatement, neighborhood cleanups, and this is one of the projects that we're very proud of, and that the youth really, again, bring a lot of value to the community. This particular cleanup, I believe, is over in the Lower West Side area by Cliff Drive, I want to say, or Castillo. And on an annual basis, the youth do 4 official neighborhood cleanups along with Santa Barbara Beautiful and other community groups. But they also get involved in other community service type of projects throughout the year. But these are their main community service projects that they do. The Santa Barbara Arts Alliance, we're proud to say, has received a lot of recognition and awards. This is just a partial list of some of the awards and recognitions that they received. In 2011, a special congressional recognition. 2011 as well, the Spirit of Service Award through Looking Good Santa Barbara. And then the Hugh Peterson Award in 2012 and 2013 for art in public places. And most recently, we were part of an award that was received by the city, the National Award for Local Arts Leadership. And we're happy to say that the Arts Alliance played a very important role in the city receiving that award. This is the Seascape mural. And as I mentioned earlier, it's about 250 feet long, so there's a lot of different panels. This is just another one of those panels. This one is called Libraries Where Adventures Began, Eastside Library, in 2013. And again, we received the Hugh Peterson Award for art in public places. And this one was done under the direction of Mr. Manuel Unzueta, Miguel Rodriguez, and Danny Mesa. It's a program that's funded through many different sources. Primarily, our supporters have been the Santa Barbara County Arts Commission since 2005, as well as the Human Services funding support that we received on an annual basis. Throughout the year, we also receive many small donations and in-kind contributions from private individuals and other community groups. Our annual budget is approximately $17,600. Most of it goes for the hourly salaries for our artist mentors, and approximately $4,000 for supplies and expenses, miscellaneous expenses. But it's a very cost-effective program. I think we're getting a lot of value for what we're putting into it. Not only for the community in terms of the graffiti abatement and reducing expensive repairs for graffiti vandalism, but also the human value, and that is the value, the change in behavior that the program provides for the youth and in the community. And with that, I would like to invite any questions, comments from the commissioners.
Great. Thank you very much for the presentation. It was really quite informative. I think anyone have any comments on the commission? And I have some certificates to give out. Anyone have something? Ms. Longstreet? Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say that was awesome. I mean, you do a lot of good stuff, but this is a really good project, a really good thing that you're doing. We live in the city. We see tagging, and art is subjective. I don't really know if I'd call that art, but every now and then you'll come across some graffiti where you can see, the person doing the vandalism really cared about what they were doing. And so I really like the idea of you getting that in there and showing these kids that, hey, graffiti, it can be art when it's done in a right, proper fashion. I love the way that you guys are incorporating other ideas like that Rainbow Bridge thing. A lot of people might not know what the story is, but it's at the heart of our community with the Native Americans. I thought that was great. And I really like, when you get to something like Van's World, where you guys are really starting to think outside of the box. I thought the work of painting on the floor was awesome. I mean, I'm an artist. My wife's an artist. I can't say enough about, what you guys are doing. My only comment would be, to continue to expand their minds and the inspiration. I mean, there's a lot of artists in the world, and I think you're going in that direction where you can start to incorporate, different artists and different themes, and, just keep doing what you're doing. Hit me up after the meeting. I'll give you a donation. It's great work. So,
great. Thank you very much. Ms. Longstreet, do you have something?
Well, I have a question. How much staff time do you think neighborhood and outreach services spends on this? Because I think it's important that we acknowledge this as truly a program in our repertoire here.
It varies. In the beginning, there used to be a lot more, but I think now that we have Miguel and some of the program participants that have now graduated to become, the mentors, I'm able to step back a little bit more, but it's probably 15% of my time at most.
Because I think it's so important. I mean, you look at this budget, which is in the standards of the city next to nothing. It's lunch for some departments. I mean, come on. And what we're doing with that, what you're doing and what your mentors are doing with, and the young people is truly amazing for $17,000 a year. I want to say thank you to you guys for making a difference in our neighborhoods. I live on Coronel Place, so I'm a neighbor of your latest mural, and I appreciate that. You brighten our community. You give us things to think about, different things to think about. If you think about the kids over at the West Side Center and what they get to look at now, how important is that? And we know in our neighborhoods, many of our kids don't go to the art museum. They're not exposed to a lot of different creative venues. So you bring it to them, and they see you do that, and it opens doors for them, doors in their mind. So thank you very much. I really do appreciate it, and I think that this is the kind of program, when we talk about what we do in Parks and Rec, what's important. This is what's important. It's and it may be 50 kids a year, but it's 50 important lives that are touched, and you are connecting with people that care about you a lot. So thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Ms. Front, did you have something?
BB just did, Ms. Longstreet just did a fabulous job, so I don't know that I can top it other than giving my heartfelt thanks for everything you're doing. You really help make our city fabulous and bring out such a cultural richness that the beautiful white walls and red tiles don't touch by themselves. And so I really want to thank you for that and setting such a great example.
I think that was actually really well said. Anyone else? Yeah. I was pleased to see that the monies received from neighborhood cleanups and things goes back into the program. I think that's really important. And I thought there were some great comments from you about the educational aspects of the program, and Mr. Cavazos made some good comments about thinking outside the box. There's just some really, your art generates food for thought in people and stimulates minds and stimulates people to want to learn more about a particular subject, no matter what it is. So I think that's really great. I wanted to also commend Mr. Venegas for all that you've done for the program. I know you've really done a great job with it. So
thank you, Chair Wiscombe.
I think it's important. And obviously there's well-deserved recognition through all the awards that have been given out. I think that's wonderful. I would love to see some fundraising activities that would monetarily support the program. Ms. Longstreet's right. It's not much money, $17,600, but it would be really nice to bring it out more in the community, other than the appreciation which is already there, and hopefully get more support. I think Mr. Cavazos is going to be your first donation to the program.
We'll be waiting on
So, at any rate, I have some certificates here to recognize people, so I'm just going to step down here. Okay, now, the way this works is I give you a certificate, and if you want to say something, please do, because we love to have you up here talking if you want to say anything about the program or anything. And so I'm going to start with the adult mentors. Lorena Alvarez.
She's not here
okay.
Today. Oh.
Gabrielle Cardenas. Down. On behalf of the City of Santa Barbara Parks and Recreation Department and the Parks Commission, we'd like to present you with this certificate and thank you very much for all you do. It's really...
Hello, my name is Gabriel Cardenas. I just want to say that I'm thankful for this opportunity, thankful for Ricardo Venegas and the opportunity I have to make a difference in the community. I know myself, I'm really big on community building and getting in touch with people that kind of need a lot of help or people that I relate to on So for myself, being in this community in the art, I've been able to do something that I love and connect that with community. So thank you again.
Thank you. Okay, and Danny's not here. Okay. So the next one is Miguel Rodriguez. So Miguel, on behalf of the City of Santa Barbara Parks and Recreation Department and the Parks and Recreation Commission, we'd like to present you with that certificate of recognition. Would you like to say something?
Thank you. I've been 8 years in this program, and I started like some of the things here as a really young person and a person with troubles at home. And I can say that I see Ricardo as one of the most influential persons in my life. So I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you to the participants, and I hope I can be here for a couple more years.
Okay, and now we're going to the peer mentors. Patricia Bermudez, is that right? Did I pronounce that correctly? Yes. Okay. So here you go, Patricia. On behalf of the Parks and Recreation Department and the Parks and Recreation Commission, we thank you very much for everything that you do. Would you like to say something?
Yes. I'll do. I just want to say thank you to Ricardo and for this program being available, because I think that it really builds a lot of skills in teens, especially for me as well. And I think more than anything, you also build friendships and a team when you're a part of this program.
Great, thank you. Joseph Calzada?
Not here today?
Not here. John Calzada? Not here?
Not here, no.
Okay. Jasmine Linares? Oh, there you are. Okay. So on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Department and the Parks and Recreation Commission, we'd like to thank you for all you do. It's really great. Would you like to say something?
First of all, I want to say thank you to Ricardo. I'm actually really grateful to be able to participate in something this nice that can contribute to the community. And it's opened a lot of doors and new connections for me, and I'm really grateful for that.
Okay, and last but certainly not least, Roselia Rodriguez. Behalf of the Parks and Recreation Department and the Parks and Recreation Commission, we'd like to present you with this certificate for community service recognition. And thank you for all that you do, and for the wonderful talk you gave about the rainbow. Here, hold on.
So once again, just thank you to everyone who makes this experience possible for us. I think, as we've all said, we very much appreciate it. It's a wonderful experience. It really helps us keep in touch with our community and give something back for what the community does for us. So.
Thank you all again for everything that you do. We really appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item number 4, which is the Low Impact Development Street Sidewalks and Alleys Project Update.
Hard act to follow.
Yeah.
Yes, Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, I'd like to introduce Tim Burgess, our Water Resources Specialist with our Creeks Division.
So, to illustrate the water quality problems associated with impervious pavements, I'll compare them to a natural undisturbed site. So when it rains on a site like this, the water falls onto the plants. Thanks. Oil from cars, hydrocarbons from road surfaces, and deposited metal dust and excess nutrients. This creates a toxic mix that's harmful to aquatic organisms. And then additionally, that immediate runoff creates flashy flows, which scours out creek beds, creek banks, and diminishes riparian habitats. And additionally, that water isn't soaking into the ground, so you don't get that benefit that you have with the connection to the groundwater. So low-impact development hydrology mimics that pre-development hydrology. So by reestablishing that link between rainfall and groundwater. So allowing rainfall to infiltrate on-site provides many of the benefits associated with the undeveloped sites. Permeable pavers are one type of LID, or low-impact development, that provides these benefits. Permeable pavers were chosen for these projects because they replace impervious pavements but still allow for the existing transportational uses of those surfaces. And this can be seen in the permeable paver design. The way they accomplish this is the rain falls onto the pavers in between the gaps, and it filters through these rock layers, this open graded base, which filters that rainwater, and then it also provides a storage area for excess rainwater, and then gives it a chance to soak into the soil below and do what it would in a previously undisturbed site. So previous projects. In 2011, the Mackenzie Park Stormwater Infiltration Project was completed. This was a pilot project where we installed permeable pavers in the parking stalls so that runoff from the entire parking lot would be able to be captured and infiltrated into the basins below. So this was a hybrid design. But using our knowledge and experience from this project, we applied for a grant to complete a larger project. And in 2012, the Creeks Division was awarded a $1,889,000 Proposition 84 stormwater grant for the construction of the LID Stormwater Infiltration Project. And this project installed permeable pavers at the Stevens Park parking lot, the West Side Neighborhood Center parking lot, the Oak Park Tennis Court parking lot, the Oak Park main parking lot and stage area, and the Oak Park main picnic area. That project was completed in December 2014 and so a total of over 100,000 square feet of asphalt was removed and replaced with permeable pavers and native vegetation. In November 2014, the Creeks Division was awarded another Proposition 84 stormwater grant, this time for $2,307,000. And this was for the construction of permeable pavers at 4 sites in 2 different phases over 2 years. The first phase was constructed in 2015 on the service road through Plaza Veracruz and the sidewalks surrounding Alice Keck Park Memorial Gardens. The second phase will be constructed this year on the street surface and sidewalks on the 700 and 800 blocks of North Quarantina Street. Plaza de Veracruz was constructed from June through August in sections to accommodate access through the park. So the asphalt alley was replaced with permeable pavers. The pavers were outlined with a 6-inch wide concrete ribbon border. And while they were exposed, utility pipes, including water and gas, that gave us the opportunity to replace those aging utilities in that site. So these are photos showing different views of the completed project. So the infiltration basins underneath these projects have the capacity to capture and infiltrate 1 inch of rain every 24 hours, which is in compliance with the city's stormwater management program. The second part of this first phase of the project was the sidewalks surrounding Alice Keck Park Memorial Gardens. The concrete was replaced with permeable pavers. But before this project could begin, a 77-year-old water main that ran underneath the sidewalk on Santa Barbara Street was more appropriately placed under the street, under Santa Barbara Street. So this project was constructed from September through December 2015 in sections to allow for full access to the gardens at all times. And elements of this project included enlarging tree wells per the Urban Forest Superintendent's recommendation, rebuilding sidewalk access ramps, and bringing sidewalk grades to comply with ADA standards. So overall, for both phases, approximately 23,000 square feet of asphalt and concrete was removed and replaced with permeable pavers. The second phase of this project will be constructed this year on the sidewalks and street surfaces of North Quarantina Street. In addition to the installation of permeable pavers, the tree wells on the 700 blocks will be expanded to better accommodate the large Italian stone pines on that block. And you can see that in this design. So with the completion of all these projects, the city will have increased permeable surfaces by over 186,000 square feet, or 4.270 acres. And that actually doesn't include the recently completed public works project on the Laguna lots. So it's even more than that. The total cost for the design and construction of both phases is approximately $2,920,000. Of that, $2,307,000 was provided by the Proposition 84 Stormwater Grant. There was a 20% match requirement, but during the grant application process, we offered $613,000, or 26%, to increase the odds of receiving that grant. And so this next slide, I'm going to show a couple of videos of the construction of the permeable paver projects, just to give you an idea. I'm sure a lot of you saw those under construction, but this gives you and viewers an idea of how they go in. This is a short video of how they hand lay the pavers, kind of the last phase of putting down the pavers on top of all the base. You can see the base right here, the pavers going in. They hand lay, they usually machine lay in large areas, but in this spot where it's narrow, they hand laid, and it was more efficient to do it that way. The second video is, I'm going to see if this works here. If not, I have it on the drive here. So let's see. Right here? Okay. Let's see if this works. This is a time lapse. We like to do this for all of our projects, putting a time lapse camera in for the construction, and it's a really good visual on how they're constructed. You can see that a pipe was replaced right there. Now they've removed the pavement. This goes really fast, some phases. Now they're excavating the dirt here. So this is looking from Haley Street north at Plaza de Veracruz Alley, Service Road. They're putting in those the forms to pour the edge restraints. They just poured those in. They're going to level out that subgrade. Then they put that base rock in. That base rock doesn't have any sand between it, so it allows for a large capacity of water storage. They put different layers. They'll install an edge restraint up there. And this goes on. This is about a 3-minute video, but there you go. The pavers go in pretty quickly compared to the overall project. They really zip them in. And those are machine laid here. You really can't see it going on unless you pause it. And then the project continues up north, but essentially this part right here is now completed. We had time-lapse cameras set up at various locations, but this was a good spot just to illustrate. We have these on the Creeks Division's YouTube site, waiting for them to go viral. But the public can view them there, and you can view them there too. So with that concludes the presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burgess. Great. Don't you wish construction could go that fast and it would be that much cheaper than it really is? Okay, we don't have any public comment. Anyone on the commission have any comments or questions for
A
Mr.
question.
Yes.
Have we seen a rise in the use of permeable pavers in private projects at all?
I think we have. Well, I couldn't say exactly how many, but there has been a rise in the use of permeable pavers to treat stormwater. The planning department might have a better idea, and we're actually in the process of quantifying that by putting them all the projects that go through for stormwater compliance into a database, so that we can actually say this is how many are going in, this is the square footage, this is the amount of acres that have been treated overall in the city. But yeah, I sit nearby a person who reviews a lot of the projects, and there has been a a larger amount of those
'Cause,
coming through.
I mean, I understand it costs a little more initially, maybe a lot more, but supposedly that this all lasts longer, so you're not having the care of asphalt that, I mean, asphalt takes regular care when it's used. So.
That's true. Asphalt is cheap to put down initially, but asphalt does not last very long, and it requires a lot of maintenance. A lot of that asphalt overlay or slurry seal overlay about every 6 years, and then it really only lasts 25 to 30 years, depending on traffic load, sometimes less, and then it has to be replaced with a whole new grind down and overlay of asphalt. And so we did a cost analysis initially when we were doing when we started doing these projects, and permeable pavers, you know, they're made of concrete cured in a controlled environment. So the concrete is really strong for each paver. Concrete is a long-lasting material in and of itself, but the pavers have the kind of control joints built into them. And so while you see an old concrete site might start to develop cracks, pavers already have that built in to allow for shifting. And so the life of the pavers, you know, when we did our cost analysis, we figured 65 years, but that was a really conservative estimate. I imagine they would last a lot longer than that. We also, for each of these projects, we store extra pavers so that they can be replaced if some crack here and there.
Thank you.
A good source, too, would be Madeline Ward, the acting water conservation specialist or whatever. But, you know, the city gives out rebates for removing impervious pavement and installing pervious pavement. Yeah. So that would be, and I'm sure there's lots of projects there that have done that. So
I just want to add, when we did that cost analysis over the life of the project, permeable pavers came out to be about the same as an asphalt surface, considering all the maintenance you have to do on that surface over that 65-year period, and the resurfacing of it. And that we felt like that was a conservative number also because with the asphalt, we didn't consider the cost of having to put in stormwater treatment, which is something you would have to do additionally in another area next to the asphalt or underneath it or something, which would add cost to that project. So that didn't even consider that.
Anyone else have, Ms. French?
I just want to commend the Creeks Division for all the hard work and setting the example, taking the risk early on with the McKenzie Park pilot site. I think it set a great example. You guys tested the methodologies and really got the recipe right so that subsequent awards were more likely to come to Santa Barbara. I think it's great not only for cost savings potentially, but also for the health of our creeks and our ocean, our coastal oceans, because a lot of those toxins are getting trapped and filtered naturally in the soils and in those rock layers. So this is a great, great effort, and I hope we will continue. I'm excited to hear that the Public Works Department is also embracing the technology and beginning to look at opportunities for using it in some of their future projects. So thank you.
Mr. Cavazos?
Yeah, I just want to say, so I was very active in pony baseball when this project was going on at McKenzie. It went down really fast, not as fast as your video shows, but the project overall, you know, when it was done, we were getting comments back on how beautiful the parking lot is. You know, how often do you hear comments on a parking lot? So I thought it was a great job. I do have a question as to whether or not you guys have captured enough data to know whether or not the objectives of how much water you wanted to capture. I think you said 1 inch every 24 hours. So are we able to tell if we're meeting that objective? And more importantly, do you guys have any ideas on how you can increase the amount of water that you're able to capture through these things?
Yes. The answer to the first part is yes, we do have data. As part of this project, we installed monitoring ports. And so if I'll show you, going back to this, are they in here? It's minimized, isn't it? I'll get there. Let's see. Okay. So kind go into this profile right here. We installed monitoring ports. So they're a port that's at the surface, and they come down to the bottom of this subgrade level. And so with that, we can open these up while it's raining and see how full the basins are underneath. And what we do is we install water level loggers that log the water level every 5 minutes or whatever we set them to. And we pull that data off those loggers, and we get these great graphs showing the rise of that water as the water fills in, and then the subsequent fall as it soaks into the ground when the rainstorm's done. And so we've got them installed in all the projects, and I have them. I don't have recent data, but I have in the past, and I'm not sure if I presented to Commission last time, but I've showed some of these graphs. And we have infiltrated all the water that has fallen on site. And when I said they are designed to capture and treat a 1-inch in 24-hour storm, when we designed these, we were conservative, and so they actually end up capturing and treating more than a 1-inch in 24-hour storm. We have, for example, in February, we're in a drought, but we've had some pretty heavy rainstorms. So in February 2014, shortly after the completion of the Oak Park, Stevens Park project, we had a storm in late February that over 3 days, it was like a series of 3 storms. It was about 5.5 inches of rain that fell. And I looked at the logger data, and all of that water was infiltrated into the project site. So it exceeded the capacity as set by our stormwater management program. And I want to add that Public Works Engineering is the division who actually designed this project with us, and so we designed these in-house, and they've subsequently, built an entire another project on their own. And so the second part of that question was, more water. There is, and so it's the sizing of your basin. If you wanted to capture more, then you size it bigger. And so where we have a project like, for example, the Quarantina Street site, that's about 45,000 square feet of permeable pavers, but we're actually capturing runoff from adjacent streets and properties. And so overall, that's actually going to capture and treat about 5 acres onto that site. And so that exceeds the design requirements for complying with stormwater. So yeah, you can dig them deeper, you can make a larger area, and capture water from other areas.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. I think what's really, besides the fact that we capture and treat the stormwater and reduce runoff, just the very fact that we have such a huge infrastructure maintenance backlog in the city, and to see projects like this that are installing things that are much lower maintenance than asphalt or even concrete after a while. It's really great to see. And I'd like to also I know that we all commend you on your grant awards. It's pretty astounding, as it always is in the Creeks Division, but it is pretty astounding. I didn't remember, did you get a grant for Mackenzie, the first project? You did, didn't you?
No, we didn't.
I know you got several awards.
For one.
Okay.
We didn't get one, but we went ahead and built it just to kind of cut our teeth on this type of project.
Yeah, because I know it's over $4 million according to this report that you've received in grant funds, I think. Yeah, which is really great. So, thank you very much for the report, Mr. Burgess, and for your great work. I think it's really pretty exciting, and I think that ends our agenda for this evening. And so, therefore, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.